Tonight we are going to participate in a tradition that we call I Go Bound. And I want to explain that to you just a little bit using my study Bible. I don't carry this a lot of places. I like to use it at home, and I like to study it with home, but it's a little bit cumbersome to carry around. It is, however, smaller than Anna Malazzo's Bible that she's taken on many mission trips and to Israel and a lot of different places. So kudos to her for being stronger than I am. But the study Bible has a very important purpose. And any Bible tells you the what. It tells you what God said. It tells you what God wants us to know. But a study Bible helps us to understand the why. And when you know the why, the what makes a lot more sense. And this is a tradition. The I Go Bound night is a tradition that goes back for as long as we've been a ministry, 56 years. And it's borrowed by name from a Bible translation that we no longer use called the Revised Standard Version, but in that version, the exact words are used, I go bound. And for 56 years, it's been a tradition of CCH that students that are departing have the opportunity to leave with words that are important. And the what comes from Acts chapter 20. The Apostle Paul had arrived in Miletus. He had called for the elders of the church of Ephesus to meet him. And they have this very, I think it was intense, emotionally intense farewell conversation whereby he says that, you know how I lived when I was with you. And he had been with them quite some time, several years. And he also commented to them that he was now departing. And he knew where, but he didn't know all that was going to happen. He knew a direction, but not specifics. And his direction was to leave for Jerusalem. He understood that persecution, hardship awaited him, but he didn't know all the details of the story. And our seniors tonight are giving their I Go Bound, and like the Apostle Paul, they knew they are going to tell us some things about being among us, living among us, and their time here, but they're also going to let us know the direction they're headed. And some know a great amount of detail about where they're going, but not all do, and that's okay. By the way, Nick Riley's not here today, and do not think he has COVID-19. That's one of your squares. I thought I would just interject that. I've got others I can help you fill in. Okay. What's that? I'm not talking about graduate school either. I got to get back to what I'm saying. Okay. The Apostle Paul left that meeting in tears. And in fact, they all did, because it was a great deal of hardship for them to say goodbye, particularly since they didn't know for sure whether they would see each other again. Listen closely as your seniors talk about their time with us, and listen to what God has done while they've been with us, and also where they're going, because for a lot of you, this will be your opportunity next year or in the years to come. And maybe the overarching challenge for you is to live a life here that gives you the opportunity to speak of what God has done during your college time. And it goes quickly. And that's a great source of tears and regret for us, because we always hate losing the people we care about. But we understand that's the process. So Reagan has agreed to go first. Come on up, Reagan.
Okay. Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Reagan King. I will be graduating with a bachelor's in speech language and hearing science. When I was preparing, I had never really felt like I had a testimony worth telling. And if I did, I never wanted to bore anyone with the details of it. I have realized that everyone has a story worth telling, even me. So here are some key pieces of my story. It's not all of it, and I would be happy to share more if interested. I'm the oldest out of 4 siblings. We have a very close family. Sometimes I don't realize how close we are until people mention it to me in surprise. I think coming from a military family, living apart from extended family, and going through life, just the 6 of us, and many times just the 5 of us, as my dad spent time away on deployments with the military. His longest deployment was when I was 5, just head to kindergarten. Grant was 3, and the twins were 2 months old. He had no plans to be deployed, but within 30 days, he was deployed to Afghanistan. I remember so much from this year. I remember our timeline we made for my dad when he would come back. I remember the tears. I remember the song, Proud to be an American, that will still make me sob. I remember the heartache of not having my dad at events. But the thing that I remember most is God providing through the heartache. At a very young age, I saw people who were the hands and feet of Jesus. We were deeply plugged into our local church, and they prayed for us, helped my mom, brought us meals, and they filled in at events my dad missed. I do not believe we would have come out as strong of a family as we did without the relentless love and support of the church. Growing up, my family always attended church every Sunday. We prayed together before every meal, spoke about the Lord often in our home, and because of that influence, I knew the Lord at a young age. I invited the Lord into my life and was baptized by my dad when I was 9 years old. I remember my great-grandma singing and then pulling me aside and telling me that I need to lean on God, because now that I've claimed him, the devil will be after me, but he can't succeed. But I have seen that to come true. The next event in my life happened when I was in 7th grade. My brother Jack fell and fractured his skull, resulting in immediate surgery for a life-threatening brain bleed. The biggest memory I have from this is the power of the church. I remember being taken care of by friends. I remember the prayer service they held for my brother at the church. I remember the tears and the prayers of people we didn't even know, questioning how they could take the time for our family to pray and show us love. I truly felt the love of Jesus wrap his arms around my siblings and I. Now, you would never know Jack fell unless you saw his beautiful scar, which is just a reminder of God's blessings and provision. I love and was really involved in my youth group in high school. A group of us would head to the youth minister's house after Wednesday night church and have deep talks discussing what living out your faith looks like and what it means to have God at the center. I began to get convicted about the people I was hanging out with. They were great people, but they were not going in the direction God was pulling me. I decided to take a step back and get serious about my faith, and I really grew to have Jesus as my best friend. I often felt very alone in this season. I had to rely on Jesus in ways I never had before, but I began to see if Jesus is all you have, Jesus is still more than enough. I learned a lot about God, and I learned that hard decisions that lead you closer to God are worth making. My next season was a hard one. My Nana became sick with leukemia, resulting in her death that broke my heart. She was my person, and to watch her wither away was heartbreaking. She wanted nothing more than to make it to my high school graduation, but unfortunately that didn't happen. She passed away 2 weeks before. Tomorrow marks the 3rd year she's been gone. And if that wasn't enough, I started to gradually notice something wasn't quite right with me. It was a slow decline at first, but I began having all of these unusual symptoms. We went from specialist to specialist, and I would get a new diagnosis every time. By freshman year of college, I was very sick. I got to the point where I could hardly eat anything. I was held back by my body, which was a really hard thing for me. I really relied on the power of prayer during this season. I prayed to God constantly, often just to make it through the hour, because I had no idea what was physically going on. I moved out of the campus house, and I went to the well, but overall, I was living life on my own, due to never wanting to be a burden because of my health. Then, God blessed me with the opportunity to go to the Barbados mission trip over Christmas break. There, I met some amazing people. I realized how much I needed my Christian community and how much I missed CCH. I started back into the Bible studies and the ministries to get plugged in. That spring semester, I started pushing myself to hang out again, have late night fun, go to 54, and deepen my roots in Columbia. I realized I can still be myself and people will still love me with my sickness. But through this, my health was still an issue. After another round of rough episodes and debilitating symptoms, I went to yet another specialist, but there I was given the real diagnosis, alpha-gal. I've never been so happy to finally have answers. Once aligning my diet, I've been able to go off every single medication, and I felt the best I felt in years. My health has been a really big struggle for me, but I have gained so much from it. God really gifted me in that I have seen firsthand what it means to find joy in the little moments. Every meal I can fully eat, every test I can take and I can think clearly, every time I study, every event I go to that I don't get sick at, every time I hang out with people, I am constantly reminded of the goodness of God. I share these glimpses of my life in my life and testimony to show you I have a story. It's nothing special, but it's the story of God showing me he is faithful. He always provides, and he carries me through. I know some of your stories, and I know others who have seen the goodness of God. Part of me wants a do-over these last couple years because of my health. I wouldn't trade it because it shaped me into the person I am today. I have been brought through trials and come out the other side stronger because of it. I challenge you to know your story. Pray that he reveals it to you and that you fully see him. Looking back, I can see God protecting me, holding me, and loving me by being there and his community being there for me. And I bet you can too. I challenge you to look back and see God's hand. I found that you will find him in everything. In closing, I want to say thank you to CCH for being my people, my home away from home for these last 3 years. I will be forever grateful for this time in this ministry. It has truly shaped my faith and helped me grow into more and even more the person God is calling me to be. Some of my parents' lifelong friends came from their days at CCH, and I hope mine to be the same for me. I'm also super thankful this isn't the last I'll be seeing you. I have lots of excuses to come back and visit, plus I'll bring my nerds deck, dance at 54, crash on friends' couches, and see at Forum. You can count on it. With that, I go bound to graduate school at the University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg, and I will live at the Christian campus house there. Thank you.
Hey guys, for those that don't know me, I'm Sara Espindola, and I've lived at Campus House since I was a sophomore. And I just want to share 5 dangers that you should watch out for during your time in college, and that I found that I need to watch out for during my time in college. First off, don't stay in a Christian bubble. As awesome as CCH is and as safe as the people here are, it can be very tempting to stay inside the walls of the safety of CCH and other Christians. And you can have perfect attendance to the well and be involved in a small group and a life group and everything, but if you never go out there and make disciples, you're completely missing the mark. And those are all good things, but there are so many lost people on campus, people that need you and urgently. For example, next week when it's stop day, all you have to do is take 100 steps that way behind us, and you will find many people that desperately need Jesus. And being in college comes with such a unique ability to share the gospel that I wish I had taken more advantage of. The Bible says to go out and make disciples of all nations, and the cool thing about college is that God has brought all the nations to us, and that's an opportunity that I don't know if you'll have wherever you go next. So please, please, please do not miss that opportunity. My second point is that you are not immune to sin. So keep your guard up. You have an important job as an image bearer on campus, and Satan hates you for that. So he works day and night to draw people away from Christ in college. So please stay alert, even if maybe you were able to stay away from things in high school and maybe you didn't struggle with a specific temptation in high school. In college, you have a whole new freedom that Satan likes to use to his advantage. And living at CCH, you have so many people to keep you accountable, so please use them. Share your struggles, share your location with your roomies if that's what it takes. Do whatever you have to do. So you can never do too much to take a precaution against sin. So it's a fight, but it's a good fight. Third, you are being watched, and not only by other people at CCH, but also most importantly by other people on campus. It's easy to think that your actions go unnoticed when you're one of thousands of people on campus, but trust me, they do not overlook your actions, especially if you're not doing what everyone else is doing, and make people wonder why you don't blend in. It's an awesome thing to not blend into campus. You never want to be in a situation where you mention that you're a Christian and they're surprised to hear that. So don't just avoid evil, but also avoid the appearance of evil. And finally, my last point is that everyone will tell you that college is the time to find yourself and to do you and do whatever makes you happy. And I want to warn you against that because if you're looking for yourself, you're only going to find brokenness and you're always going to come up empty. So look for God instead. And I can promise you that what makes God happy is so much better than anything that could make you happy here. So as you're picking out your classes and figuring out what to get involved in and where to work, keep in mind that there's nothing more rewarding than losing yourself for Christ's sake. So thank you, CCH, for being my family these past 3 years, through the good and the ugly. Thank you, Olivia, for being my first friend here and for being my literal partner in crime and bearing community service with me. Thank you, Carley, for being a shoulder to cry on. And thank you, Lily, Claire, and Abby, for being something good to come home to every single day. So with that, I go bound to graduate from nursing school in 2 weeks and to marry Gabe Minter at the end of the summer and to go be nurses together wherever the Lord calls us. So.
Okay, can you hear me? Good. Okay. Hello, my name is Carley Siler. I lived here at the Christian Campus House all 4 years. I lived in the beautiful house of Fresno. I moved into Fresno right into college. I am from a very small town. It's called Puxico. No one knows where I'm from. It's in between Dexter and Poplar Bluff, an hour south of Cape Girardeau, or right above the Boot Heel. So that's the best I can explain it to you. The first thing I need to do is thank Lance for taking a chance on me and accepting me. The only recommendation I had into CCH was someone who had previously gotten kicked out of CCH, so Lance took a real chance on me, and I am thankful because coming into college, I had planned to do all the things that everyone told me that you'll do in college, all the typical things, and to do whatever I wanted with the new freedom that I had gained moving away from my family. I have a great family, but just being able to be independent was something I was looking forward to. But CCH ended up being the greatest blessing for me and changed the trajectory I had planned for my life. So instead of going wild and joining a sorority, I gained a relationship with God, and that is truly greater than any college story I could ever tell. And the people I met along the way were some of the best people. Grace, stop videoing me. The people I met along the way were some of the best people that and are my favorite people to this day. So thank you, Lance, for my community and helping me in my relationship with God. So my relationship with God, when I moved into CCH, I didn't know what it meant to trust God. That was just a cliche thing that I had heard. But over my time here, I now understand what that means. I tried to plan every piece of my life and come to find out that that does not ever work out. Looking back, the plans that I had created for myself are so little and almost non-existent to what my life actually turned out looking like. God's plan that he wrote for the past 4 years are far better than any 4-year plan that I could have created. So if you're a planner like me, remember to check your plans with God first before having to start over every single time because you want to figure it out on your own. And then second are my people. Before moving into CCH, I prayed for God to give me a close person, and he gave me Grace Martin as my roommate, and he knew she would quickly become my very best friend for the rest of my life. I got to live with Grace all 4 years at Fresno, and then Grace introduced me to Malia, and they quickly became my people. If you know Grace and Malia, you know how easy they are to love and be loved by. They showed me what true friendship was when all I really knew of friendships was secular and unhealthy. They showed me what it meant to be genuinely loved by a friend. And so thank you to Malia for teaching me how to just laugh at life and to be happy even in a valley. And thank you to Grace for showing me compassion and loyalty. Love you both. And then there are several other people I could talk for hours about how amazing they are and the impact that they had on me, but here's just a few. Thank to Marius, the person who was always just a few steps ahead of me in life, so I could call and ask, what did you do about this or that, and was just my reference for life. Grace Whitaker, she spoke truth over me at the perfect moment. Every time I was down, I could go to Grace, and she just felt like she always had the right things to say. Grace always seeks after listening to God and doing what he calls her to do, even if it makes her uncomfortable. Thank you to Olivia Schaus for all the late night boy talk and figuring out the craziness of boys together. Thank you to Matt Vaughn for taking and passing biology for me. I wouldn't be getting a degree without you. Ellie and Emery, thank you for keeping me up past 10 p.m. every night and making me feel loved every day. Sarah, thank you for sharing this special season with me and letting me celebrate you and enjoy your life. And Abby, Claire, and Lily, thank you for being a fun place and being joy when I look around the house. And to Caleb, thank you for being the sweetest soul I've ever met and being willing to take on life with me. I can't wait to see the beautiful life we'll build together. And so thank you to CCH for loving me so well and bringing me so much joy, my people, and bringing me closer to the Lord. So with that, I just finished my master's degree in social work, and I go bound to stay here in Columbia for a little bit longer and work at Boone Hospital as their new oncology social worker and marry the love of my life, Caleb Brueggemann, in 122 days.
Let's go. What's up, brothers? So, many of you might not know exactly who I am. I never exactly lived at CCH, so if you don't live at CCH currently, there's no excuse. I can give an I Go Bound, anyone can give an I Go Bound. I assume the bingos are completed, but I'm sure that's on there. So, when I first joined college, I was kind of recluse. I didn't really go do many things. I would just go to my classes, go back, eat, and not really make any friends. It was also during the pandemic. I'm sure you all remember what it was like. But it just took one person to invite me to a Christian group for me to blossom. And I just want to encourage y'all, first off, to be that person to encourage someone to go out. For me, that person was Noah McAllister. He always would invite me to play basketball. It didn't have to be a Christian event, and he dragged me along. The next thing I want to talk about is college is a great place to really make faith your own. A lot of times, I grew up in a Christian household, and I was just scooting off my parents' coattails pretty much. I didn't know what I was going to do in life, and really getting to college kind of lets you find yourself. I know everyone says that, but making faith your own is something extremely important, and I think it should be done, and it needs to be done because you need to spread your wings and grow up eventually. Now, next thing is I am pre-med. And one of the things I've discovered is that most of my classmates are not Christian, and that it can be extremely difficult. I know you need to be the light to these people, but it can really lead to doubts. And if you don't have any doubts, I would say you're not human. I've gone through many times in my life where I've doubted my faith, but these are opportunities also for growth in your faith, and like I said earlier, make it really your own. But while it's important to have a Christian community, it's also important to be a light. But having a Christian community to really fall back on is important as well, because this allows you to share in your experiences and get to know one another and just grow together as part of the church and as part of the body. So, the last thing I wanted to talk about is a lot of your professors also will not be Christian. I've met 0, and that's kind of expected. And it kind of really singles you out, and it can be hard. It can be very hard, especially I've been in a lot of STEM classes, especially where they're very, very stringent on it, and they're not actually afraid to tell you that God is dead, but we all know here that he isn't. And to just keep your faith, be strong, fall back on your community, and be the light to those who aren't, and maybe one day God will bring them to his kingdom. With that, I will be short and sweet, and I will go bound to the University of Missouri School of Medicine this fall.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm gonna move this 'cause I'm a walker. So I hopefully have enough string. Yeah. So if you are surprised to see me up here, I'm right there with you. Honestly, 3 weeks ago, I would have been shocked if you told me I was going to give an I Go Bound. But that's just, oh, thank you. Yeah. All right. Lots of movement. Okay, good. So in order to start this I Go Bound, I have to go back about 1 year, about this time. And I'm wrapping up a year at community college, and I'm looking for the next step, going to Mizzou. Originally thinking I'm going to do some sports journalism, thinking I'm going to be the next Matt Clark or something, but no, that's not what happened, because God's got other plans for me. And here's just an example of it. We go on a tour to Mizzou, me and my family, we're just going around, and my mom sees the Christian Campus House, and she thinks, well, why don't we just go inside? You know, what's the harm in that? You can at least get familiar with everyone around there. And so we go inside expecting to see a minister. None. Not a single one was there. I don't know where they were. Like, legitimately, Lance, Chris, Leroy even, like, no one was there. David, I mean, like, when does that ever happen? And so, like, no one was there. The only person in the office was Anna Milazzo. And she came in and she said, yeah. She worked there, but, like, you know, unofficial minister type. Okay. Hey, listen. Hey, that's low-key roast. I didn't mean to, but low-key roast. Put it on the bingo card. So hey, all right. I didn't write this. Also on the bingo card. All right. So Anna offered to graciously give us a tour of the Christian Campus House, and we go through it, and you don't think much of it, and we end up leaving. Not of the tour. Guys, you're taking this so out of context. I'm thinking, okay, it's cool that I know where the Christian Campus House is, but I'm not going to live there, right? All right, so a few months go by, and the housing preferences are due for incoming students at Mizzou. And for some reason, I just had this thought in my head, just don't fill out that housing form yet. Just don't fill it out. Just wait. Give it a little bit of time. And I kid you not, 2 days later, I get a call from Lance, and he says, a spot's opened up, and it's yours if you want it. And legitimately, I started jumping, up and down, spontaneously, had no idea why. And it was because Anna Milazzo gave a great recommendation about my family, and so that's why Lance reached out to me. And so that was a special experience, and it's something that I had no idea God had called me into. But that leads me to my next point of God having a plan for my life, because as I start to do this journalism thing at Mizzou, I'm realizing, man, this is not for me. I'm sitting in a journalism class thinking, man, I just want to be back at CCH. I want to be around my people. I want to do ministry. I want to go do this and that. And so as I start to think about that, God starts to stir that in my mind. And again, later that week, there's a message at the well given about God in the workplace and what that means. And that really struck deep in my heart. And so I was like, you know what? Screw this journalism thing. I'm going to get a degree in communication, get out of here so I can go do ministry. So that was my thought. And I go through all those steps, and it's because of the community that CCH brought me that led me to that point. And so I decided to do communication technically, but it's ministry. And so over spring break, so I had some people in my church reach out to me, and they're like, hey, we have this internship this summer. You should check it out. I heard you were going into ministry. So I was like, sure, why not? And so I signed up for it, and not even a week later, they call me up and they say, there's a job for you and exactly what you want to intern in. We're going to move this internship into a full-time position and give it to you August 1st, as soon as you're ready. Unbelievable, right? That just doesn't happen, right? So, God was moving in my life, and I had no idea. I would have never known if not for the people at CCH, because the community you build at CCH is what reignited my passion for ministry. You guys did that for me. You guys brought me into this reality where I can become a minister, a pastor, go into ministry and create that community for other people. Because this community has changed my life. Complete 180 of what I wanted to do. And so that is my very first point. There should be 2 takeaways. If there's more, I don't know what you're listening to. Here's the 2 takeaways. The first one is, this community matters. What you do here matters. Kind of like what everyone else has said up here. Who you reach, the freshmen you bring in, people you bring to other events, Like, those things matter, and these create lifelong friendships that I'm going to have for the rest of my life just because you guys provided a community for me. And the second thing is this. God has a plan for every single person in this room. He just does. And so the best thing you can possibly do is to step aside and just let him take over. Because he, as you can tell from my story, he is constantly working things in my life that I had no idea were happening. And so when you allow God to do those things, he leads you on to so many better things that you have going on. And so with that, I go bound back to Illinois. Sorry, guys. Yeah. I go back to Illinois. Hey, Illinois needs Jesus probably more than Missouri. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I go bound back to my home church in Illinois to do early education ministry and go wherever God takes me after that. Thank you.
I'm like having flashbacks to Mr. CCH when the last time I spoke in front of people, Nick was like digging in my pants because the microphone broke. So having a little bit of flashbacks right now. So if I look nervous, that's why. But luckily Nick's not here, so it should be fine. Hi, my name is Travis Franks. If I did not get the chance to know you, I apologize. I'm sure you are a wonderful person. I get the honor to stand before you alongside some of the most amazing human beings on the planet, and for that I am extremely grateful. I do want to give a disclaimer that I want to be extremely honest with you here today. I stand before you with a crazy range of emotions, and some of them I do not know how to describe. I'm deeply saddened to know that my time in college is now over. In fact, at senior dinner on Monday, I told Sienna that I did not want to begin to write my I Go Bound because the moment that I began to write it was the moment that I had to admit to myself that college was over. I'm profoundly devastated to leave, that I'm leaving the group of people that I've built my life around these past 3 years of school. I owe so much to each one of them, and I owe debt that I will never be able to repay. And for that, I'm truly, truly grateful. Words will never be able to express how much each one of the people God has given me the opportunity to be around has meant to me. I came to college off a coin flip. I could not, for the life of me, decide where to go to college. And so I finally went to a trusted mentor, and I said, just make this decision for me because I really don't want to anymore. He said, fine, and he grabbed a 1998 Windows instructional DVD, and he flipped it. That's a true story. And it landed on CCH in Mizzou, and thank God it did. My life has been forever changed because of CCH and the people who are in it. I do not know what path I would have been on if it were not at CCH, but I do know that it would have been the wrong one because I've been so clearly on the right one. God has used CCH as a place where great molding and shaping has taken place in my life. I entered CCH as someone who knew God and liked God, and now I leave as someone who trusts God and loves God. God has used CCH and his people to shape me into the man that I am today. Because of CCH, I'm now closer to God than I ever knew possible. I have been challenged in areas of sin that I never thought would see the light of day. And I have been loved in the ups and downs by people I would never have expected. And so it all comes back to love. I cannot thank CCH enough for being a place of love. I have felt the love of Christ and his people more here than anywhere in my entire life, and I hope that I was able to leave a small portion of the love that CCH has given me. As I reflect on my time in college, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of memories that I have, and funny enough, none of them have anything to do with schoolwork at all. Hopefully that's not a bad thing. When I applied for Mizzou, I thought I was getting a degree, but actually it was so much better. I was getting a family. I was getting people who loved me and who I loved deeply. And so again, it all comes back to love. And so I want to take a few moments and just say thank you to some of the people that I love. First is Layla. Thank you for always being my rock and being the one I get to spend the rest of my life with, figuring out how to continually love better every day. Thank you for always doing distance, even though it was never easy. Thank you to Blake. Shout out Blake being here. Thank you to Blake, my best friend and my brother. Thank you for always being the one who understood exactly what my sense of humor was and for being there to push me. I will miss spending every day together, but I'm more excited to see what God has in store for your incredible life. Thank you to my other energetic, God-fearing, and genuine roommates. Thank you for being the ones who are always by my side and will stand by my side at my wedding. Thank you to my life group for giving me your deep biblical wisdom and allowing me to grow in my leadership. Thank you to Ariel and Santa for not only being a great friend to me, but also for caring for Layla diligently. There are so many people I could thank, like Chase and Yusuf and all those who have come before me, but we do not want to be here for the next 3 hours. So I'll try to wrap this up relatively soon. But I do want to be able to pass forward a few pieces of advice that I've been given and have helped me live life in the Lord. First is please, please, please do CCH things. Go to retreats, go to the picnics, paint up. Please, please, please paint up. We finally have a good football team, so I would love to see you guys on ESPN going forward. But yeah, because we do those things because that's where life really happens. The only thing I regret about my time during college is that I didn't do anything CCH related my freshman year. I thought I was too cool to do all the CCH stuff, but looking back on it, I realized I was actually way too lame to do any of the CCH stuff. So please do everything you possibly can. That's what you're going to remember about college. Second, be the friend to others that you want someone else to be to you. Invite people to the small things like a midnight QT run. I promise you will be able to make an impact on people that you will never fully realize. Third, don't let time fly by. If you have the choice of going to college in 3.5 years or going to college in 3 years, don't do what I did. Take the 3.5 years. The real world will always be ready for you. Take your time and enjoy where God has you. Finally, love and trust God. Believe me, I'm telling that to myself just as much as I'm telling it to you. But I promise God is working in ways that we will never fully understand until we all reach heaven. With that said, I hearken back to the emotions that I mentioned at the beginning, the great sadness that I am now left with at this moment. And as I reflect on why I have this sadness, I found the answer in one of our great philosophers of the day, Winnie the Pooh. He said, "How lucky am I to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard? And how lucky I am." And with that said, I say the famous words, I go bound to graduate in personal financial planning, get married to Layla in 46 days, become a financial advisor in Kansas City, and do my best to continually grow into the man that God is calling me to be. Thank you all.